I want to acknowledge that our Brandon office is located on Treaty 2 lands, which is the traditional homelands of the Dakota, the Anishinaabe, Oji Cree, Dene, and Métis peoples. However, we work extensively throughout Manitoba in the lands of Treaties 1 through 4 and the southern portion of the Treaty 5. RMED respects the treaties that were made on these lands, where we will all work together, and we commit to reconciliation along the path to economic prosperity. Introduce our guest. Mr. Dave Parsell is the CEO of Localintel, an award-winning technology company that helps communities across North America transform complex data into compelling economic development content. A TEDx speaker and recognized thought leader, Dave brings over 2 decades of diverse experience spanning local government, consulting, global finance, and military service. Today, he is a leading voice on how data, storytelling, and technology are reshaping the role of economic developers. And on the topic of TEDx conversations, there was a great one that I was listening to the other day, and it shared a quote that really resonates with what today's session is going to be about. And this TEDx speaker also mentioned this as well. It's a quote from Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. And with that, I'll hand it over to today's presenter, Dave.
Thanks, Eric. I really appreciate that. Okay, can you hear me okay, that end? Thumbs up. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Dave Parsell, CEO of Localintel. We've been working closely with RMED for a little while. And today what I'm going to do is run through a little bit about the latest technology that we've been working on. Let me just quickly share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? See the presentation? Thumbs up. Excellent. So the webinar is here's the title: How Technology is Changing Community Economic Development. So a little bit about me. I come from Tasmania, and that quote that Eric mentioned was actually a TED talk that I did. It was like a long time ago now, and it was about Tasmania and its need to adapt because it's a small regional economy. But what you may be more familiar with when it comes to Tasmania is the Tassie Devil, thanks to the Warner Brothers cartoon. So on the left, you'll probably recognize the cartoon. On the right is the actual Tassie Devil. So they're about the size of a raccoon, but a whole lot more ferocious. And the reason they were given the name devils by the European settlers was the noise that they make when they're feeding on wallabies or kangaroos or whatever they've caught. They just scream at each other. They bite at each other's faces. They're pretty terrifying. You would not put your hand anywhere near them. They're pretty crazy. But look, Tasmania is also notorious for essentially being founded as a penal settlement. So it was essentially where the convicts went. So back when the English settled Australia, they brought convicts with them, but then in about the 1840s or so, they decided that this convict thing, we don't like having all these convicts around in Sydney and different parts of what we call the mainland Australia. Let's all move them down to Tasmania. And so they shipped them all down to the little island where I grew up of Tasmania, out of sight, out of mind, I guess. And as such, a very high proportion of Tasmania's population, me included, can trace its roots back to its convict past, but don't hold that against me. Being the smallest state in Australia, we get picked on, and also being a little island halfway to Antarctica, we get picked on. And yes, there's all sorts of jokes about us. Yep. So the inbred one's pretty common, and there's a whole bunch others, but pretty normal, depending on how many beers I've had. Look, so let's get into it. What are we going to quickly go through today? We do a survey. So Localintel is a technology company. We work very closely with economic development teams and municipalities, all shapes and sizes. We work with Canadian federal government right through to villages of less than 500 people, and we're always asking questions. We're doing surveys. We're going to have a quick look at a couple of findings that we pulled out of our most recent survey of economic developers. We're going to quickly then have a look at this new technology that RMED were the first in Canada to adopt, and we're going to show you, and then some other communities in Manitoba are adopting as well. Stonewall, for example, we're going to show how they're using this, and show you how this new technology can really benefit organizations like RMED as well as communities of all shapes and sizes across Manitoba. And we're going to give you lots of examples so it all makes sense. So what are we doing today? Overall, guys, it's really to show how technology can really be embraced by municipalities of all shapes and sizes to really help economic development, but also other elements like planning teams, communications team, public works teams, so that you just get like a common sense, easy to understand example of the latest technology. Yes, AI, we're sick of that word already, but how that can be used with great impact. Anyway, let's move on to this survey. So data. We talk a lot about data, and in the economic development world, we want to know from economic developers, how are you actually using data? What are you using for? Because data is not the end. It is essentially the means to do something. Sometimes people get carried away with data. So in other words, data is just something we need to do something else. All right. So we asked economic developers, what are you using data for? And in short, they said most often, so 70%, they're using it to, put content on their website. So talk about their location or communicate something about their location using data. After that, the most common things economic developers are using data for is things like, public engagement, like public speaking, presentations. Then we go down to things like, they need it to put into reports, and then marketing brochures after that. Then grant applications is a big one. Quite often, we need to put a grant application in, it needs to be backed by data, internal planning documents, social media, and all that. So all pretty common stuff. I'm sure we're familiar with it, but it's interesting to see, what those most common tasks that economic developers need data for and what they're actually using it for. We also asked economic developers, like, just how important is, creating content. And by content, I mean things like charts, maps, insights, reports. So how important is this to your job as an economic developer and the process of economic development in a municipality? And they said, look, 94%, nearly everyone just said, look, this is super important to being an economic developer. So basically, it's just essential part of being an economic developer. You need to know where to find the data and how to use that data in the various tasks. It's just a given. It's important. And 55% of economic developers are actually doing this. So actually doing those sort of tasks that we just looked at, whether it's website, whether it's creating, putting it towards documents or presentations or what have you, over half are actually doing this, taking data and doing this stuff at least daily or weekly. So it's important and it's happening a lot. Okay. But here's the problem. We also ask, what are the challenges of actually doing that, of actually trying to find the data and then turning it into this content that you need for all these tasks? What's the challenges that you're facing? And this is what they said, like 68, 67, 9% basically said, look, finding the right data is really, really tough. It's a major challenge, blocking me from doing this. Not enough time. We don't have time to do it well. Budget constraints. And then things like you're creating visuals or charts. That's really hard. Interpreting or analyzing data, super difficult. Just making the content look respectable enough to share with the public or with someone else, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of real challenges. I'm sure many of you that have had to do this are nodding and saying, "Yep, yeah, I'm seeing it. I'm hearing it. Yep, that's definitely a challenge." So that's sort of the world that we're living in when it comes to economic development and the use of data to do various tasks. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Localintel technology company. So we essentially are software. We have been very well known for creating beautiful, engaging visualizations that go into our clients' websites. So whether it's RMED, whether it's like small towns, whether it's Invest in Canada, they essentially have been traditionally putting our visualizations into their websites to help tell story, to help essentially say, this is a real advantage that we have. and that our visualization will go into a certain web page and help tell that story. It'll really capture people's attention, get people playing with it, engage them, keep them on the web page for longer, which is important. Today, everyone's concentration spans is so short. People just scroll through. If you're lucky enough to get someone to your website, they just bounce off it super quick. So what we've traditionally been known for is creating these beautiful tools that go into these web pages to communicate valuable insights about a location to and keep people sticky. So, but the problem was we had a lot of our clients, like we work with hundreds of clients across Canada and US. We had a lot of those clients saying, Dave, love the stuff on the website, but guess what? We got a whole bunch of other tasks that we're doing a lot more frequently and are just as important. Can we use Localintel? Can we use some of your data or some of your visualizations and to like do these other tasks? And we've always had to say no until now. And we've just, with the help of RMED and a few other great partners, just launched this fantastic new piece of technology. And we're going to run through that. And what we're hoping to do is just give you, as I said, some insights into just how technology can be embraced by big and small municipalities just to save time, save money, and just get so much more done with less. So what is this new platform? We're going to look at it, okay? And that's better than just another slide. But in short, this is what I want you to imagine. This is what I want you to picture. It's essentially an internal workspace, okay? It's an internal platform that you guys log on to. If obviously if you're subscribed to it. And it's just full of content about your location, about a location. So as I said, it's got reports, ready to go profiles, ready to go stories and insights, hundreds of charts and maps and dashboards and things you can put on your website, all about your location, all populated, ready to go with the data because we bring the data there. We keep it up to date. All these content is just ready and raring to go, as you're about to see. And so it doesn't matter if you're not that confident or you don't have time finding data or turning it into some sort of analysis or creating a chart or a map or a more comprehensive thing. It doesn't matter. It's all there. It's ready to go. So if you've got a task, like one of those tasks that we just looked at on that list, you can just go in and say, man, I need to do this. Let's quickly jump in, have a look and see if there's a ready to go piece of content there. Oh, there it is. And then just go and chuck it in that email or that Word document or that presentation. No need to build it. So it's really using the power of the latest technology to allow, specialists and non-specialists to just do so much more. All right. So what am I talking about? All this probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So in the next 20 or so minutes, hopefully a little bit less, this is what we're going to do using this platform. So hopefully by just doing, it'll make more sense to you. What are we going to do next 20 minutes? We are going to actually create an article for a weekly newsletter. We are then going to do an example of how we would respond to, say, a business or an investor that is inquiring about, local manufacturing sector. Or we're then going to quickly prepare a slide highlighting the largest industries in a sector. We're then going to quickly create a report on the structure and strengths of a location. We're then going to quickly find something to do a website refresh, and then we're going to customize a few things, all within the next 20 minutes. Now, some of these tasks would take hours, if not days, if not weeks. And we're going to show how this platform, being used by RMED, being used by the likes of Stonewall and Brandon, can really short circuit all this stuff and just enable you to do so much more. So first task, and I'm going to flick between screens a little bit. Hopefully the technology holds up. But let's just say the first task is you need to create an article for a newsletter. So in the economic development world, one of the things, if you had time, you should be doing is creating an article, as frequently as you can that's highlighting some positive aspect of your community. That means you can share it. It's always good having good text and articles out there. And I'll show you an example, hopefully, on the screen. This is actually just a client of ours. They've been having some trouble with their website. Looks as though they still are. Let's switch to a different client. I just want to show you an example of what clients are doing. No, not happening. All right, so let's go into the platform here. So this is the platform that we're talking about. And essentially, it's not public. The world cannot see this. So this is currently set up for Stonewall. But RMED have access, and we'll look at RMED's version of this shortly. And what it means is the team at Stonewall, whether it's their economic developer, their planner, their CAO, their public works director, or whatever, they can come into this, and when they need a piece of content, when they need to communicate something about their location. And you can see it doesn't look like a complicated data platform. It actually looks very user-friendly and intuitive. And that's because it's for experts and non-experts as well. This task is about stories. And so the platform automatically generates stories about your location, all based off the data that's within the platform. Okay, where's the data come from, you ask? Localintel for years has been known that we tap into huge amounts of both data that we buy and keep up to date, and also open data. In other words, data that's available, whether it's Canada or various other sources. And so what we do is we bring the data in, we clean it, we verify it, and obviously we keep it up to date. Every single piece of content you're about to see is based on this same verified data. So it's not like a chat GPT, it's not like a one of these AI tools where you can put in a question and the answer you'll get will sound amazingly confident and accurate. But then when you actually dig into things, it's like, oh, gee whiz, that's actually not a great data source. I'm not sure I would have wanted to put my name on that and send it out to the public. That could have been a bit embarrassing. This platform, we're taking that risk off the table, okay, by making sure that all the content is based just on the data within the platform. You can always find the sources. You can always download the raw data. So if someone says, hey, I saw this report, I saw this story, I saw this chart, where did you get the data from? Prove it, show me. And whether it's tomorrow or an inquiry 12 months from now, you can do that on the platform. Okay. And that's not something you can easily do using other types of tools. All right. Stories. Remember, the task was we're going to create a story. And we're going to put that on our website to help showcase something great about our community. All right. So let's have a look at this one. So there's a whole bunch of great stories here across a range of different things. I know it's difficult for you to see, but let's just say population here, just to keep it easy. And we've clicked on this, and the platform itself, yes, it is using AI, and we've trained up, but we can see that it's providing a fantastic article down here about, and this one's a very positive promotional article that perhaps you would want to highlight and talk about. It's comparing Stonewall's population growth against the province as well. It's really showcasing some of the strengths of Stonewall. It's providing a snapshot of that article, and it's also providing some talking points for that article. And it also provides comprehensive data source. So the classic, where'd you get the data from? It's like, no worries, I can show you where I got the data from. Okay, so this isn't just about researching and saying, well, that's interesting. It's about using it. Okay, so I can go to the top here. I can click on download draft, and then I can click on this, and hopefully you guys can see this. And what it is it's that same article. Okay, and it's all in a beautiful Word document. And what the team at Stonewall can now do, so they're, marketing person, communication person, or whomever, economic development person, they can just come in here and they can do whatever they want with this. They can use some of this, they can use all of it, they can use none of it, they can edit it, they can just, it's theirs to use. Okay, so what it's doing is essentially giving you a starting point. And some of our clients, they review it. You always got to review it still. Okay. And maybe make a few edits, and then you can put that straight up there. And then you might say, you know what, we actually want to put a visualization in with that article, because doesn't that make it interesting? So we can actually come across back in our platform, because this is about total population, and we can actually go into the area of the platform that lists all the individual sort of data types. We can put in total population. We can go, oh yeah, there it is there. We can say, okay, there's a bunch of really cool different types of visualizations here, even comparisons. I think this chart is going to be perfect to put in our article. Let's download the image of this. And it should download in a second. There we go. And there we go. So now we have a story talking up Stonewall in a very positive, well-written way. And now we have a beautiful chart that we can put in that story as well. And how long's that taken? A couple of minutes. All right. Let's have a look at the next task, because that task 1 is done. Sorry, that's an example there of how another rural organisation across in Ontario have used it. So they have created an article and put a beautiful chart in. So that's just an example there of what they did. Hopefully you can see that. Let's move on to task 2. So a site selector or a business or investor, they've contacted Stonewall and they have said, hey, we're actually interested in doing some investment here, but we'd like to get some information on the local manufacturing sector. Okay, so in other words, it's someone ringing up asking for information about this location. So what can we do here? Local manufacturing sector. Okay, interesting. So it means the team can jump into the platform. Remember, the platform is all internal. Everything can be shared with the world, but you decide. So let's say I'm the economic developer there at Stonewall. I'm jumping into here and I go, you know what? I think the profiles is going to be a great way to share this information with this business. What are these profiles, you ask? Well, there's 28 of them. Things like community, demographics profile, economic, industry, housing, quality of life, workforce, and 22 industry sector profiles. Things like accommodation and food services profile, manufacturing, and so on and so on. So remember, this task is we need to get this person who is inquiring about the manufacturing sector in Stonewall. For those of you who aren't familiar, Stonewall's about 5,000 people, so bigger than a bunch of communities in Manitoba, but still smaller than a few as well. So I've clicked on the profile. And so what this does here is it's a really online rich experience where this particular one details jobs, establishment, industry trends for the manufacturing sector. We can see here that here's the index. So it's got things like fastest growing industries in Stonewall's manufacturing sector, largest industries, specialist industries, emerging industries, employment, and so on. So anyways, it's a very, very comprehensive. And then on the right, as I scroll down here, yeah, we can start seeing the type of interactive information for each of these things. So you get like a header, things like KPIs. It's giving you a little description here. It's providing a data source, and so on and so on. There's a lot of information here. So if we scroll to the bottom, we can see that, yeah, we get down to here. We can see, sorry, just got something in the way here. There we go. There's even on some of these things, there's the ability to, zoom into maps, and there's even comparisons. So it's great. But remember, we're not just looking at this for research. We would need to share this. So we can go back to the top. We can click on share profile. We can then get a link and we can say, this is what I'm going to share with that person that just contacted us and was asking. So we can email that link to them. And when that person clicks that link, they will view this. It's an external view of what the profile is. So the person that gets this, they're not inside the platform. This is sort of like a copy of it. And you can say, hey, I just sent you a fantastic comprehensive overview of our manufacturing sector in Stonewall. Everything's interactive. There's like, comprehensive this, comprehensive that. And in like literally, if I wasn't waffling on so much, I could have done that in less than a minute. And you're just providing, you've done that task. And all this data is obviously being kept up to date as well. So, and as I said, there's 28 of those profiles right there. And I'm going to show you how RMED are using these profiles in the reports in a second, but I'm just going to continue on with the next task. That's task 2. We're already done. Task 3. So a presentation needs a slide showing the largest sectors in Stonewall's economy, okay, plus some talking points. So let's see what we can do about that. So what we're going to do here, remember, we're going to come into this area here, which lists all the different types of data points that is contained within this platform. There's a huge amount of them. But this particular task is we're putting together a slide for public engagement that talks about largest sectors in Stonewall's economy. Okay, so what we can do here is there's a couple of options. We've got employment by sector. We've got largest sectors. Let's click on that one. And what have we got here? So we just have a whole bunch of different types of ways of communicating about the largest sectors in Stonewall. So there's like fancy visualization there. There's a couple of KPIs. There's a cool chart. There's another cool chart. And there's even, you can download the data. So if you want to get the raw data, you can do that as well. But remember, this slide here is about doing the presentation. So let's just quickly, on another tab, let's download the one we want. Let's say this one. This is probably the quickest way of doing it. Download this one. So we've downloaded this. There we go. I'm going to quickly open a PowerPoint slide, like a new one. And so this is obviously just, PowerPoint. This is outside the platform. But here, I could just quickly go right here, stone walls, largest sectors. Obviously, I could format that up to make it look a bit nicer. Obviously, Stonewall's probably got their own slide format. And then I can just quickly come and access that chart that we just downloaded. So I think it should be in downloads if I remember rightly. And there we go. So there's a few different ways we could have done this. And we'll just quickly do that. We can even do this. Hey, presto, we have just finished the task. We have a beautiful slide that is showing Stonewall's largest sectors, and we've done it in less than a minute or so. So let me get rid of that. We don't need to save that. All right, let me just open this back up. So that task has been done as well. Okay, task 4, council has just resolved that they want to see a report on the structures and the strength of the local economy. Okay, so if you're a CAO or an officer or economic developer, traditionally what you would do is you'd say, okay, I need to get together an RFP. I need to send that to a bunch of consultants. They're going to respond. We're going to pick one. They're going to write a report. The whole process is going to take, months. And, like a thorough report on the structure of our economy, probably looking at, I don't know, $10,000 to $20,000. I used to be a consultant doing this sort of stuff, and actually was one of the inspirations for creating this platform was to automate the whole process. So instead of doing the RFP, let's start by going to the Localintel platform. So the folks at Stonewall could come in and they could go, well, let's look at what reports we've got. And they have 28 reports. So once again, they've got a bunch of sector reports, they've got community reports, demographics, housing, economic, industry reports, and so on. So we know that, because I'm familiar with this platform, that there's a couple of options to respond to council's request. And I know this industry report is a really thorough overview of the local economy and the industries within it. I've just clicked on that report. It provides me with a little bit of a summary. And now I'm going to download the PDF and really make sure that that's what we want to do. So I've just clicked on that, and here we have it. So I'll just make this a bit smaller so we can see it, and get rid of that pop-up thing. And as I scroll down, you can see Stonewall's logos on it, industry report. We can see the table of contents. And as I scroll down, there's a beautiful executive summary. And then we get into the detail. So one page per, I guess, data point describing the economy. You can see the difference between this and the profiles is it's more like your traditional consultant report that they've had a graphic designer prepare. There's a lot more text. There's a lot more words, a lot more context. You can see that the charts are all matching Stonewall's branding, their branding guidelines, and there's all sorts of fantastic charts and maps and comparisons and what have you, and so on and so on and so on. One thing I'll draw your attention to is for every one of these charts or maps, I'll make this bigger so you can see it. There's a figure and there's a little number. That's about the data, because people will go, where are you getting the data from? And so if we keep scrolling all the way to the bottom of this very thorough report into Stonewall's economy and industries, if we get to the bottom, there we go, finally got there. Data sources. So every one of those little numbers corresponds with data source, which is just so important. Where'd you get the data from? When was it last updated? Blah, blah, blah. Then we can do that. So instead of having to go out and do the RFP, the team at Stonewall now have some options. They could say, well, you know what? That Localintel report, pretty much does everything that we need. There may be some additional work. Maybe you do need to still get a consultant to maybe run some local workshops, maybe do a local survey, but maybe not. But if you do, at least it means that that budget that you're spending on the consultant is either going to be less, or if you're going to spend equal amount, it's really focusing in on the things that can't be done by this platform. Because I remember when I used to be a consultant writing this stuff, I used to use so much of the budget to prepare, all the stuff that's in that report, do all the research, find all the data, write about it, prepare it. And then that didn't leave a lot of budget for the other really valuable stuff, which was getting out on the ground, interviewing, researching, surveying to complement the data, which then creates an incredibly powerful combined output. So I guess what I'm saying there is the reports, and there's a huge amount of them there, may be enough not to engage a consultant. Other times it may be a great complement and save you money. Let's have a look at a great example of how our friends at RMED, the great, fantastic hosts of this webinar, are using some of this technology. So RMED are representing each of the regions in the province. And for each of the regions, they have created in their webpage and their website. So here's all the regions that they're looking after. Let's just go into Interlake, for example. So they created this wonderful page. And essentially what it is, it's a one-stop shop for information about these regions. Okay, so they've got things like, mobility, demographics, community, workforce, industry, economic, quality of life, housing. And so they have used the Localintel platform, their version of it, to essentially provide the information. So they have created this page, but you can see for each of these cards, there's a viewful profile, there's a download the PDF. And so anyone can come to this website, they can say, okay, workforce profile. Let's click on the full profile. And so they've come through, and here they've got access to the full engaging profile here. So they're using one of those links that I showed you earlier. So for every single one of these 8 different topics, there is a profile. And there's also one of those reports. And here is the example right here. And so what that means is, the user coming to their website, researching, trying to understand this region, they may want the really interactive visualization sort of approach, or they may want the PDF that they can print out, take away, that has a lot more words. RMED are using, and RMED have just taken those bits of content from the Localintel platform, made them available on their website, and now they have a comprehensive information, hub for each of those profiles, and for each of those regions. So there's 8 regions plus the province, and every single one of those regions has 8 reports and 8 profiles. So 8 times 8, there's 64 reports, 64 profiles. You can imagine how much that would have cost to get a consultant and the website people and the software developers to create all that one by one. It just would have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they've saved a huge amount of time. And of course, this stuff's always updating. That's the other thing you got to keep in mind as well. All right. Just conscious you're probably getting sick of my voice. That task is done. So add a dynamic community profile dashboard to your website. So keeping your website up to date, that's really, really important. So one of the things that we can do here, actually, I'll just quickly go ahead and show this, that within the same platform is you can access widgets. And what RMED have done is they've actually also used, and they've been doing this for a little while, they've made available for 137 communities on their website. So if I click on any of these, like Town of Winnipeg Beach, on their website, for each of the communities in the province, they have these beautiful dashboards. Every single municipality has this, all treated equally. It's a wonderful way to understand and share information. I think about 40 of these communities have taken this stuff and embedded it on their own municipal websites as well. So this is another great example here of how Localintel's platform is providing RMED with valuable, beautiful visualizations, content that they're using to support each of their communities as well. So that's a great example, and that stuff's available through the Localintel platform, and Stonewall also have the opportunity to do that as well. Okay, so that's that task. Now what I want to quickly do is just give you a glimpse of where the platform is heading. So this will be rolling out to RMED and other clients like Stonewall and Brandon in the coming months. But the reason I'm showing you these next couple of really cool little tasks is just to show you just how powerful, actually I need to log out. I need to quickly come in and do something. I think it's this one. Yeah, I think it's this one. Let's see if this works. Yes, thanks for your patience. All right, so what we're looking at here is what we call builders. So we realize that even when you provide hundreds, if not thousands ready to go pieces of content, the reports, the maps, the charts, there may be times where you're like, ah, man, that chart just isn't quite right. I can't use it. It's not exactly how I need it. Or that story, I just can't find something that's using the right words or about the right topic. I want to sort of do something myself. Or the report, the ready to go reports are great. I need something that, it's a bit more tailored for me. And so we're adding this to the profiles to the platform as well. So what do I mean by this? So let's just say you need a chart. And so we looked at population before. What we can do here is like, a line chart. Oh, maybe I want a horizontal chart. Maybe I want a vertical chart. Maybe I want a pie chart. You know what? I want to go vertical chart. Nice and simple. So you're not, it's not like some sophisticated dashboard chart building tool. You just sort of the chart's sort of pretty much done for you. You're just picking a different type of chart. You can then annotate it, so you can put some extra words in there. Maybe if you are doing a presentation, you might want to describe what the chart is saying in your own words, so you can quickly type that. You can put a longer data source if you really want to do that. You can quickly change the color if you want, to whatever color you want. There's a bunch of other options you can do there. You can even say, you know what, I don't know, like I want to do a longer date range, so I can quickly just show the last 20 years or something like that. Yep, that's exactly what I want to put in my document. I'm just going to download the image. Hey, presto, there it is. We've just created a custom chart, less than a minute. Absolutely beautiful. Put that in your presentation, your document, your email response, whatever it is you want to do. So what I'm trying to show you there, guys, is that's the power of where technology is headed. And you don't have to be that expert in your municipality to do this stuff. It's just ready and there for you. Same with things like the stories. Like you may have a grant application, for example, and you may need some sort of analysis. Maybe you're doing a grant application into maybe some of the educational challenges of your community. You could come in here and say education levels. You could say, okay, cool. I want to compare it to education levels against, say, the province. I then want to, I can have some choices. Do you want this to be critical? Do you want the friendly writing style? Do you want an optimistic writing style? Do you want perhaps an academic writing style? So you can decide what sort of writing style you want. Do you want it to be positive or negative or critical? You can say, I want it to be this many words, and so on and so on. But we can then generate this, I guess, narrative. We call it a story, but it's just, describing something about your community and data. And it takes about 30 seconds to generate. But this is sort of what you'd use it for any time that you want written word using, about some data point in your community. So we've just generated it there. It's fantastic. About 400 words, really getting into the detail on the education levels of this community. We can then go into the supporting materials. We can then find, hey, I just need a snapshot to put into that grant application, or you know what, I just need some bullet points to put into the grant application. You can just grab those there. So all of a sudden, we have just generated a thorough analysis of a particular data point about this community. The very last one is reports. And there's a little bug there that when I go from stories to reports, let's try that again. So if I go reports, you can literally create your own custom report that will look just as good as those other reports that I showed you. So we might say, something like, let's say the task is to create something about your strengths. So, our town's strengths. It could be whatever you want. We can then pick, whatever it is we want to put in that report. So I'll just add that one. Just making stuff up here. We could add that one, whatever you want. And you could add more and more and more. And then you can generate. It does take a little while to generate, but in short, that's going to generate that incredible, formatted report that looks, with data sources, with a cover page, with beautiful charts and maps and all that sort of stuff. And I'll show you what that looks like when it finishes downloading. So we've done all those tasks in the last 20 or so minutes, which is pretty incredible. And look, in short, what this technology is enabling communities across Manitoba, big and small, to do is to shortcut the traditional, process of creating this sort of content. So find the data, analyze it, create the visuals, write about it, put it into a report, review it, update it. We're putting it down into that 7 steps into 3 steps. You got your location, you select what you need, and then you just download it or share it. It's as simple as that. It's going to save RMED and Stonewall and Brandon and other communities that are getting on this. It's going to save them time. It's going to reduce costs. You'll be able to get your staff are going to be able to get more done with less. And it just ensures consistency and credibility across the organization. Because as I said, Stonewall, for example, with the platform, they get 5 seats. So people from different departments can all access this. Okay. So it's a bit of it's not just one person sitting on this information. It's like, oh man, I asked for this stuff like 2 weeks ago and I still haven't got that chart. I still haven't got that data. I still haven't got that map. People can just come in and just grab it. Okay. Yeah, I've shown you some examples of how RMED are using it. Look, what I will say, I'll just quickly come through here. I've shown you that already. I've shown you that already. As Margot, the CEO of RMED, said, what used to take days or weeks can now be done in minutes. And look, key takeaway here is that there is just not all the new technology you hear about AI is sort of like, oh, it's sort of good, but I don't know how that might work in our day-to-day work lives. Hopefully a key takeaway here for you today is that there is technology out there that can utilize these latest developments and fit straight into essentially what your teams are doing every single day. And I must give a shout out to Ahmed before I hand back to Eric. They were the first to really see the vision of what we were creating. They were the first to come and support Localintel's idea about this new platform. They have always been searching for the latest technology to help them as an organization, to help promote their communities, to help their small rural municipalities do more with less. And yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out Ahmed for supporting Localintel and being so innovative in how it embraces technology to fulfill its mandate. So happy to take questions. I'm going to stop sharing. If you want to know more about getting this for your municipality, because Ahmed have it at the provincial and the regional level, and we're working with municipalities. We can work with individual municipalities to get it at their level, for example, Stonewall and Brandon. Just reach out, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. That's our address and what have you there. So you've probably, all gone to sleep by now. Sorry about that. I'll hand back to the Ahmed team.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation, Dave. And to be honest, it absolutely keeps my level of rage filled to the top. And I say that because when I was a regional economic development officer, I had to go to StatsCan and find data sources for 3 different municipalities, build the charts, make the story. That took weeks and weeks and weeks. And here I see you doing this in a matter of minutes. It's absolutely infuriating, but it's so good. And what I really love is now it's the ease in that we can tell the stories of our communities. Monday, I was fortunate enough to listen in on a presentation by a gentleman by the name of Peter Kenyon, Bank of Ideas, and another gentleman, a gentleman from the Western Shores of Australia, and he really highlighted, the need to be able to tell your stories. There's data out there everywhere, but how do you make it talk? How do you really sell your community with it? And 137 municipalities in Manitoba, right? And what's that story that sets you apart? And the ease of bringing this all together is just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Thanks, Eric.
So while everybody's thinking of a question to ask, I'm going to fire this off, and just curious if there is an opportunity to combine 3 different municipalities. Like if you're working as a regional EDC, is there an opportunity to bring 2, 3, 4 municipalities, the data sets together under one roof,
Yeah,
or is it still remain separate?
yeah. So that's something that we're working on. So right now, we are working with some regional entities. So right now, what we can do is we can give those like whether it's a small regional entity of 3 municipalities or a big regional entity of 20. What we can do is we can create an instance, an account where they get each of those 3 municipalities as available in the platform. So what that means is, I didn't show you, but in the top right, I'm not sure if you guys noticed it or not, there was a location, and you can just literally select one of those other, and all the data, all the reports, all the maps, all the charts will automatically switch from location A or municipality A to municipality B, and so on. And we can do that for as many municipalities. So what that basically means is each municipality can get its all that crazy thousands of pieces of content about their location. What we are working on is, the aggregated version. Okay, because you can imagine sort of when you got thousands of pieces of content about one location, and then all of a sudden you're starting to join them all together. Sometimes that can get a little bit complicated. If the region is a known statistical area, like say, an economic region or a CA or a CSD or something like that, yeah, we can do that straight away. But if it's a custom region, like these three municipalities side by side, that's something that we're working on, amongst many other incredible additions that we're working on as well. So, short answer, we can do a gathering of municipalities and they all get a big discount. So they all get the access to the thing a lot cheaper and they can all access it and what have you. And in the longer term, yes, we will be able to do the aggregated region of whatever size.
Perfect. All right, Marie Cecile, please go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone, RMED. Yeah, I was curious because, of course, I will ask for some French. Is it possible to do this kind of platform? Like you said, you are working on maybe a regional one. We have 16 bilingual rural municipalities, and I'm wondering if it's possible to have the English and French option.
Mm. Yes, that has been quite a common request. And once again, that is one of the things that it's on our to-do list. Yeah, as there's many things on our to-do list, but yes, that has been a common request. We see the need, we recognize it. It's just one of those things like the rest of our own organizations. We've got so many people, limited people to do it. So that is on the to-do list. Yes, as well. So watch this space.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Now, before I forget, I will ask that Teddy throws up the post-webinar questionnaire because I have a tendency to forget about that. So we'll mark that while I remember. And then just one other thing that you mentioned in your presentation, just about having the community profiles or the data sets available on your website. There is a specialized, or I shouldn't say specialized, but there is a different embed code than just adding the link that will upload that to your direct website as well. And if anybody is looking for their community profile to be embedded in their website, give us a shout or email info@rmedcorp.ca. Just another fantastic tool to keep the data available on your website as well.
Yeah, I strongly recommend that. Like, the zero cost. Like RMED have organized this, they've got it set up, they can help show you examples of how other municipalities have done it. It's just a little bit of work, not too much, and all of a sudden, then you get like a super fancy dynamic profile, sorry, in your website, and you haven't had to pay anything. Like so, like I strongly encourage you reach out to RMED, and they'll walk you through it.
And to have everything automatically updated is amazing.
100%. Yep.
And I know I'm a very biased person to be hosting this webinar because for me, I love data. I love the story it tells. I believe strongly in database decisions. And being able to do some test runs on the platform, I've just been amazed on how everything can come together, how you can create your own stories, how you can help advertise your community a lot easier through presentations, updates on social media, your website, easy changes. And if I just keep going, people are going to hear me ramble about it. So
yeah, and obviously this isn't meant to be a sales pitch, but one of the main questions we do get, of course, is, okay, we're a small community. Yeah, how much does something like this cost? It must be like ridiculous amounts of money. So I'm just going to say it because it actually matters. So the way that we've got this structured, we have a special arrangement for really small communities, and they can start their journey with this platform with pretty much nearly all, not quite all, but nearly all the features that I just showed you, for $3,500 a year. That's it. So, and there's a couple of level choices above that. Like anything, there's various levels where you get more power and more data and all this sort of stuff. But just for you folks that may be thinking, oh, great day, but we won't be able to afford this. We're a tiny community. That's sort of what I'm talking about. So if there is anything of interest there, just reach out. We're not a very salesy orientated organization. We're just there to help communities. Happy to walk you through it. And if it's something you want to talk about, we're always here to have a chat.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we don't want to keep everybody for too long, but I'll do a final call for questions. And if you need time to think on it, the webinar will be recorded and uploaded on our website. Review it, get some questions together. Feel free to email Dave. And yeah.
Cool. Actually, Eric, one more thing I forgot to mention. With the census stuff coming out, the new census data being released next year. So data collection for the census, as we all know, is this year. They'll start releasing in tranches the findings from that census starting next year. Every single one of those releases will be automatically put into the platform, automatically updated into those reports straight after the release. So when the councillors or whomever are asking, well, what's the latest release about the census release saying about us? Think about what you would ordinarily have to do. You have to go in, do the research, pull the information, analyze it. With those that have the platform, they'll just be able to go, oh, you know what? I've already got access to these instantaneous reports that already have all the stuff put in, compares it to previous years, tells us what's changed, and all that will be automated there. So that's something to keep in mind as well. 2027, there's going to be a lot of questions on what the census is saying about your community. And this platform will have all that ready to go stuff where you'll be able to answer it, understand it, and leverage it straight away.
Hi, Dave. This is Bola from Town of the Park. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I know this is recorded, this webinar. Can I get the link to this recorded video? I would like to share this link with the board.
Ahmed, Eric, it's up to you, mate.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. So when we get all of our recordings finalized and everything, an email gets sent out to all participants with the link as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep,
And I'm
absolutely.
more than happy to jump on any call with councils, with leadership, with teams, just individually. Just reach out. Happy to jump on a call and have a chat.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. I'm not seeing any other hands up. Oh, sorry. I think we just had a question pop into the chat here. Okay. Thank you. Do you have a timeline on aggregate totals for specific regions being combined, perhaps later this year, 2027?
Yeah, I get in a lot of trouble for promising timelines with my engineering team, so I'm a bit shy. Let's under promise and over deliver. Let's say hopefully early Q1 2027. Hopefully beforehand, but let's say worst case scenario Q1 2027 before the census release. Okay.
Sounds good. And they replied, totally fair, thanks. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for attending today's webinar. Thank you so much to our presenter, Dave. Thank you so much for your time and showcasing this again, where you ran through it twice during the workshop at AMM. We're very happy that you came back to do this one for us.
Thanks, Eric, and thanks everyone in the RMED team, and thanks everyone else for attending.